Pretty much 90% of our clientele is residential or townhouse developments or units. A business that would sort of focus on residential, sustainable architecture, and that would be more sort of inclusive to all sort of clientele as opposed to just those that, had high budgets. Often when we start a new project, we'll, say as part of our feasibility study, we might do 5, 6 designs and then refine 3 of them and take them into a presentation level for the client. And what I find is if I do the first design and I put that data into ProCalc, I can then use that as a gauge as to whether I'm on track with where the budget sits or whether I need to adjust as I'm going with the future designs. So it's a good way to kind of check before you commit too far with your thought process. And pull back if you need to at that earlier stage, rather than designing up 3 fully functioning floor plans and then finding you're well above what they want to spend.
Adjusting the client's expectation and preparing them for a project that is not going to, blow out of budget, and give them the opportunity to reduce the scope of the project early on, very, very early on, before even we go into concept design and see how the building would look like, but in terms of area and the expectation of what they're going to have in the new house. And then that would continue to build on the concept design when, say, we've done 3D elevations, and we'll input that back into ProCalc again. And then that would, again, adjust the expectation of what material and finishes that they want again. So that's the management from the very, very early embryo stage of the project throughout the concept design before we get a proper cost plan done by a quantity surveyor. The client expectation is managed and adjusted gradually over time, and rather than being completely shocked when they get a tender or construction documentation, which is a really bad position to be in at that later at that stage of the project. So I think that has been helping us a lot with managing the expectation.
One project in particular is this project in Burwood where we're renovating an existing house, but we're also doing a big extension. And the client came to us with a budget that we knew was not enough to satisfy the brief that they wanted, and we pointed that out, but they still wanted to undertake essentially the first stage of our services, which was the feasibility study, so that they can look at the space that we can create, what our opportunities are, what the constraints are with regulations from councils and easements, so they can kind of master plan and have the overall idea and in their head. Now, typically in the past, we would have then, with those areas, applied a square metre rate. But when you're renovating an existing house, it's very challenging because where do you apply the square metre rate to when it comes to the existing? How do you decide which parts are substantial enough to put that quantity to and then which parts aren't? So the difference by having ProCalc in this project was that it gives you that opportunity to look at structural openings, new windows to existing areas, renovation areas of the existing, but then also if there's new bathrooms in there or kitchen or any sort of area that's going to cost more. So I had more confidence by using ProCalc that the estimate we were going to give the client was more realistic, because really the next step is they need to embark on the full concept design and then get a QS to prepare a cost plan. But that's a much higher level of expense.